Hello, and welcome to another GoldMine 101, our regular series of short presentations giving you hints and tips for getting the most out of GoldMine CRM. Today, we're taking a deeper dive into mandatory or required fields in GoldMine. And if you think about it, the quality and completeness of your customer data can make or break your business relationships, your effectiveness of using GoldMine and your marketing efforts. So one crucial aspect of maintaining high quality contact data is the use of mandatory fields, especially for key contact information in your GoldMine application. So hello, I'm Tim Wilmot, and my company, Wizard Systems, we're a specialist CRM solutions provider. We help out mainly small and mid-sized organizations improve their sales productivity, marketing, and customer service through the use of simple and affordable solutions like GoldMine. Now, the audio part of the presentation is one way only. If you've got a question about anything I'm showing or describing, please pop that into the question box on your meeting control panel. I'll do my best to answer at the end. And also at the end, I'll give you updates on any GoldMine product news we've got for you as of August 2024. So brief mention about Wizard Systems. We're a long-standing provider of CRM solutions. We are actually a multi-solution provider. We don't just provide GoldMine, we do provide others as well. But as regards GoldMine, we provide the total package, the product, upgrades, extra licenses, integrations, training, and ongoing support. Okay, let's dive into required fields then. So in my GoldMine system here, visually, you will see against a contact record these required fields as a sort of very faint dotted line, this dotted red line around that field display length. That's how they're going to visually appear to the user. So in my example here, I've got required fields against contact, email address. In this example, GoldMine system, I've got a field called interest, maybe some kind of drop-down list of what product areas this customer is interested in, and then another one there called use now, maybe tracking what does this company have from us or have from somebody else right now. Maybe I'll leave that field blank for whatever reason, and then I go off and do a search or go get some other part of GoldMine, do a search for another contact record, and this is what happens. A little alert window pops up here, alerting the user that there's a field here called use now against the contact record, and I have to enter something into it. So if for any reason I don't know the entry for it, but I want to give some kind of an excuse, make some kind of a record in the history of the contact record, I can use this little button here, skip required entry. Let me just move this up a little bit. Skip required entry. And this is where we would have had a drop-down list of typical reasons why you may not know the entry for that field, or maybe you didn't know or something like that. You click on authorized, job done. You can then go on to another contact record. So that's very simply to the user how they're going to interact with those required contact fields. As an administrator, how would you set them up? Well, very simply, hovering over the actual field itself, the administrator can obviously edit that field. All those fields there are highlighted, but just double click on that one there, and up pops a little window with all of the properties of this particular contact field. Last tab here, security. This is the little checkbox there. You see, required data entry. So very simple to set those up. And you really need to think about, the reasons or typical fields that you may want to consider as mandatory. I mean, in my example there, I've got the person's full contact name, email address, interest, and use now. But there might be other fields, perhaps the phone number. Maybe the phone number is very important if you're into telemarketing. Maybe that's important to keep up to date. If you're doing mailings from your CRM, then the mailing address might be important, particularly if you're in B2B, or the company name. Again, if you're in B2B, maybe the company name is also equally important for you. Some best practices for you when implementing these mandatory fields. I would suggest only make fields mandatory if they are really, really, truly essential. If you have, I've seen some GoldMine systems where there's a multitude of required fields, and it just ends up the users being frustrated. And at the end of the day, they just get turned off. They don't bother using GoldMine, or they think of other ways around it. It is possible, by the way, to skip past mandatory fields. You can, on that window that came up, you can click OK. You can escape past that window, but at least it's a sort of in-your-face window that is guiding that user to make an entry into that really important field. So another thing is communication. Provide clear instructions to users with clear labels and maybe some help text in the pop-up window to help them there. You can also use, remember, in GoldMine, you can use validation rules or your F2 pop-ups to provide some correct data that you might expect in that particular field, in a proper email address format, proper phone number format, and so on. You could also think about, when you create new records, could you pop in some default values? You can do that in GoldMine. So when you create a new record, if there's going to be a very common entry to a field, then that's going to save time. It's going to provide some accurate data, and at least it puts in an entry, a sort of standard or an expected entry into that field. And regularly review your GoldMine system. These required fields you've got set up, are they still being used? People are still leaving them blank for whatever reason. Look at those reasons that that you had there. The actual history, in history, you get that little indication of the excuse or the reason why that particular user didn't enter in that field. Okay, so that's a quick run through mandatory or required fields in GoldMine. Hopefully that was of use to you. If you're not using that feature already in GoldMine. So if you've got any questions around this, I'd be happy to answer those. I think a few questions have come in already. First question from Paula. How can we implement mandatory fields without overwhelming our sales team, who often need to input data quickly during customer calls? Well, use those pre-populated fields, I would say. And also make sure that, again, using communication, just make sure that you're only considering the most essential fields. Don't make every single field on your contact record form a mandatory field. So hopefully that would be, that's the solution there. There's a balance really in that. Tristan, is it possible to set up conditional mandatory fields in GoldMine CRM? For example, making the company name field mandatory only when customer type is set to business. Yes, you could do that actually. There are sneaky ways of doing that using the lookup.ini field, so that yeah, when you do enter in that field business, then that will make that field mandatory. So you could do that. You could also do it via automated processes as well. Another way of ensuring that if you enter in business, you could do that. And also there is a third option I'm thinking about is record typing in GoldMine. So you have, by default, when you start using GoldMine, you've only got one record screen layout. But if you've got different types, if you're dealing with different types of accounts and you want different information applied to those, then this actually would be the more elegant way of doing it. So if you're B2B and B2C, you could have business, you pop in a business as a contact record, and then your record layout changes dynamically to reflect the information you're now wanting a company name field. So yes, you could do that. Let's just see here. Ben, how do we extract contacts using client type, client's historical How do we extract contacts using client type, i.e. clients, historical clients, etc.? Yes, Ben, so you would create, that'd be a two-step process. Basically, you would create a filter for the records that you want to extract. And then you think about, well, okay, in what format is the data going to be that you could extract via that filter? So that could typically be Excel. You could dump them to an Excel spreadsheet. You could pop them into another popular format would be CSV, comma separated values. Basically, a text, a little text file, line by line, record by record of all that information. If you need any more information on that, Ben, please contact us at Wizard Systems. Right, another question here from Kyle. Can you have a compulsory entry on the call subject when recording a complete phone call? Not on activity forms, Kyle. However, you could, using the pop-up, using the F2 pop-ups, you could put the administrator could put a little setup option on that to pop up immediately when you complete a call. When you select complete a call in GoldMine, the window will pop up and your cursor will be in, I believe it will be in the subject box of that phone call, and that's where you could put in the entry. So at least it's going to pop up with a drop-down list in alphabetical order of the common subjects of a phone call that you've just done, but not in the same way as contact fields in there. Right. Okay. Thanks the four of you for those questions. Don't think there's any more. Right. Latest news as of almost mid-August 2024. Latest release of GoldMine is 2024.3. GoldMine is actively being maintained and supported going forward, so please make sure you've got a maintenance contract to keep up to date with latest versions of GoldMine. Contact us for any information on that. Do you fancy a review of your GoldMine system if you've been using it some time? Maybe think you've got into some bad habits, or you want to think of a better way of using GoldMine, or you want to review CRM totally, and is GoldMine still fit for purpose? Then please again contact us for a free review. Happy to, any of us here will be happy to jump on a Zoom or a Teams call with you and go through your requirements. That's it, me done then on required or mandatory fields in GoldMine. Hopefully that was of interest for you. Please keep an eye out for invitations for future GoldMine 101 topics. And indeed, if you've got any suggestions for future topics, please contact any of us at Wizard Systems. We'd be happy to consider those topics that would be of interest to the GoldMine community at large. Thanks very much indeed. Those of you on here live or you're watching recording, thanks very much indeed. And we'll catch up with you soon on the next event. Thanks very much indeed. Bye-bye.